Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, this is what I am going to say, but the Resident Evil Alice movies are way better than the Hamada Sonic movies. The Resident Evil Alice movies, they weren't cheap fan films, they weren't copy-paste of the games. They took elements of the games to have them inspire their films. They went ahead allowed the characters to be dark, mature, and of course their adult selves without any censorship and something like that. They made way more money, and overall, they were a way how to make video game movies, while the Hamada Sonic movies were the opposite of that. They weren't the way how you make video game movies. They went ahead, did not become faithful to the source material at all. While with the Resident Evil Alice movies, they were faithful to the source material. Anyways, like I was saying, they were trying to copy and paste the games. They look like a cheap fan film, and they barely make any money, because you have to remember the original Sonic movie was meant to make, 900 or 9,000 money, but then they got like what, 500 back. Yeah, the Sonic movies are a flop, while the Resident Evil Alice movies are a success. And don't get me started on Resident Evil Raccoon Welcome to Raccoon City. That was just a awful version of Resident Evil. The Resident Evil Alice movies are faithful to their source material. They allow the characters to be a dark, mature, and of course adult versions of themselves. And of course, they weren't just copy and pastes of the games. They were just taking elements from the games and just put them in there. While the Hamada Sonic movies are the opposite of that, and that's why, they were trash. They weren't faithful to the source material. They copy and paste the games. They look like a cheap fan film. And of course, they don't allow the characters to be dark, mature, and adult. They instead censor them in favor of the wrong fandom, which I think is wrong. Also, you have to remember, video game movies are not meant to be copy and pastes of the games. They were meant to be their own thing. When you have them copy and paste the games, that is not what anyone wants to see. And this is the reason why I did not like about the Sonic movie. And I bet that there is a reason why it looks like a cheap fan film, because fans wanted that, which is the wrong way. We should never do that. This is what I like about the Resident Evil Alice movies. They don't do that kind of stuff. They're like, we will take some elements from the video games, but however, we're not going to copy and paste the whole entire game into a movie, because that's not how movies work. You see what I mean? This is just like, oh, DC should copy Marvel. That's just not how it works, alright? Imagine if they release another Resident Evil movie, but then they went ahead tried to copy and paste the games. It will not be interesting. If they're going to do a Resident Evil movie again, why not base a Resident Evil movie on, Resident Evil 3.5, aka the original version of Resident Evil 4, aka the original version, Resident Evil Code Veronica 2, with Tony Redgrave and Paul Redgrave. Turn that into a movie. That would have made loads of money. And get Zack Snyder to direct that as well. Anyways, this is what I want to go to say. This is what I want to say. Alright? Here's the thing. For Capcom, bring back Tony Redgrave in Resident Evil. For Sega, no Adult Sonally Trilogy, no money, well, it's close. Bye.